Wheels like these from Industry 9 have near instant engagement. I mean, these ones, I've got 690 points of engagement. That's literally nearly instant. But what is it about fast pickup hubs that make them so good? Well, in today's video, we're going to be comparing a super hub like this Hydra hub here, compared to a bog standard hub like an OEM spec wheel that you're going to see on any typical bike off the shelf, just to show you just how different they are and the tech involved in these. On my recent ultimate bike build video, I actually spec'd these wheels, so I've literally just taken them off to show you. Got for Industry 9 wheels. I've had my eye on a set of these for such a long time. Listen to this. Oh. So there's a Trail 270 by Industry 9, and it turns out loads of people are interested in them in the video because I guess the spokes look pretty funky and they're insanely loud. So that's one of the things everyone's asking about. And Industry 9 also get asked loads of questions about the hubs and the technology inside them. So they said, hey, why don't you do a little show and tell video? So yeah, happy days. Let's have a look at the tech and see what it really means. So to compare that Industry 9 wheel, I've just chosen a completely random wheel from one of the bikes in our lockup. So it's a Syncross wheel. This would be seen on something like a gravel bike or a 29er XC bike. It's got straight pull spokes, it's got centre lock, disc mount on there, and a regular 3-pull system. So fairly typical for something you're likely to see on a bike you buy off the shelf. Now, something to note here is that although the wheels that come on your bike will do the job perfectly well, and as long as you look after them and maintain them like anything on your bike, they'll serve you well until they eventually give in. But one of the biggest improvements you can make to your mountain bike is by putting lighter and better wheels on them. So firstly, being lighter, you're spinning that rotational weight around, so your bike is going to feel even lighter just by having the light wheels on. It's going to accelerate quicker, it's going to decelerate quicker as well, and it's going to carry more momentum. It's generally going to feel much more lively out on the trail. Adding to that equation, if you've got advanced hubs on there, you can have a faster engagement on them. You can even have bearings in there that roll much better than you have on the standard ones. Now, I'm not suggesting that everyone goes out and buys new wheels, but it's a great upgrade to have in mind. So keep running your wheels and perhaps get that piggy bank saving for a rainy day for when your wheels eventually give up, because you might want to get something like that. Okay, so a bit about the basic wheel. So this is your typical sort of OEM wheel that you're likely to find on any bike from entry-level point upwards. So of course it has a disc rotor mount on there. This one is a center lock. The other options you see will be 6-bolt. You might also notice from this side it's got straight pull spokes. So you can get straight pull and you can get J-bend spokes. We'll go into that a little bit when I talk about the other wheel. Now the hub shell itself looks like just machined aluminium there, and it's got an aluminium body on there. A telltale way of seeing that is because of the fact the cassette started cutting in. So this traditional spline style body, that is one of the things that can happen with them. Now this one has a 3-pull internal design here, so it's 3 pulls as that engagement system, and it's hard to be specific, but that feels to me roughly 15 to 20 degrees between engagement. So that's fairly typical, and don't take that as a bad thing. You can just have much faster engagements that offer different things. That's pretty typical for what you're going to find out there on bikes. Okay, so the Industry 9 hub then. Right, so this one is got a shell that's cut from 7075 aluminium. It's got a 6-bolt design. They do make hubs with a center lock design on as well. They've got loads of different options. As you could probably see, it's got straight pull spokes, but these spokes are a bit different. So these ones don't have regular nipples that you have on the rim there, and then a spoke that goes into the hub. Instead, it's a one-piece design, so it's completely unique to the way that they build their own wheels, and it screws into the hub flanges themselves. It's a very cool design. We'll go into this a bit in a minute. On the outside here still, you've got the micro spline system. You can also get XD and spline, as you see on the older hub here. Now, this one on the inside has 690 points of engagement. I can't tell you how many that one has got until we take it apart. This one has got 6 pulls rather than the 3 that are on the other one, but each one of these pulls has like a double head on it. So you've essentially got 12 pulls on the inside with the way that it works. It's a very cool system. Okay, before we take them apart, I'll just address the fact that these have a completely unique spoke design. I'm just gonna put this down a second here. Now, on a regular spoked wheel, there's a couple of things that can happen. So you've got your nipple at the bottom here, you've got the spoke, and then at the hub end, either go straight pull like this, or conventional ones, you have a J-bend. Now there's 2 places on a conventional spoke where you can get problems. At the J-bend, they can break there, and then at the end where the nipple is here, because of the fact where the thread is cut onto the spoke, you're actually removing material. So the spokes can actually break just at the top there. It's quite a common thing. You know, it doesn't happen all the time, but if the wheel's been really ridden hard, or it's a really old wheel, you can get fatigued spokes and they can break. Now, what Industry 9 have done is they've machined these one-piece spokes, which, I mean, fair play, it's an amazing piece of design. They've got external butting on them, which is just beautiful, and they've got a thread on the end, which is actually bigger than the spoke. So you're not going to have that stress riser there where it could break. And of course, at the other end, they don't have a separate nipple. The nipple is actually kind of shaped as part of the spoke. Screws in, or basically threads in through the rim hole and screws directly into the hub itself. These are 20 to 30% bigger in size, basically in cross-section, compared to a conventional spoke, yet the weight basically is just not there. They're insanely light, they're incredibly strong, and enables them to build a very accurate and strong wheel. I love the fact that they've gone to this amount of detail to make a set of spokes. It's brilliant, great system. Okay, so the process of removing your main body from the hub, also known as the freehub body there, you have to take the end caps off. Now, this completely varies on every system of hub, but on more traditional style hubs like this one, which you'll see on a lot of OEM bikes, you're going to need relevant cone spanners. Now, these ones traditionally are used for adjusting the cones on cup and cone style bearings, in which case you would obviously need two on each side, one to adjust the bearing and one to adjust the lock nut against that in order to keep it in place. Now, these days you tend to just see cone spanners in place that undo the end caps itself because they have a cartridge bearing on the inside, so you're not needing to preload that in any way like the older ones. But you'll still need to have some of these spanners. Now, this is a great thing, they work really well, but it can also be infuriating because no one hub will use the same size. So you end up across the years of having bikes accumulating loads of these things, and in which case it becomes even more annoying when you've got newer systems like Industry 9 that do away with tools, which in my opinion is a much better system. I think it's much better to have a tool-free design. It means you can fix stuff out on the trail if you absolutely need to when you're on the road, and you don't need specialist tools like this. So actually, in the long run, good riddance to the humble cone spanner. So I've actually pre-loosened this one off here just so I can undo it. And then you literally want to hold one end of the axle against and undo this. And that is basically it. Then it's time to remove the actual body itself. Now, this hub from Industry 9, thankfully, is a modernised hub. So like many other modern hubs, it has the end caps that literally pull off with no tools. So this is a dream for bike maintenance because it's so easy to take care of them. Now, one of the cool things about these pull on and off end caps is it does mean that depending on the configuration you have on your back end, you have options of having different caps to suit your bike. Now, this will vary depending on your bike and obviously the hub spec that you have in the first place. You're not going to be able to sandwich a massive 150mm hub in a 135 back end, no matter what you do with the end caps. But the fact is, you do have different options available to you. Now, it's quite simple to remove that freehub body. You literally just slide it out. Sometimes you'll find there'll be a big heavy duty seal there, although in this case it's quite a slight one. Now, we'll look at the hub in a second. Let's have a little look at the actual body itself. So you've got 3-pull design on here, a very common looking one. You see this on loads of different options. Now, you can get anything from 2 pulls up to, up to 6 pulls, depending on the brand of hub out there. And these pulls will be engaging simultaneously, so they're all on and then all off in between. So the drive ring on the inside that they engage with is obviously key to this. Now, look at the spring design on this. You can see that there's like a little groove running around. So you've got a spring that circles all of them to keep them in place and make sure that they move in and out. But it's not always like that. On some hubs, you'll find there's mini like coil springs underneath them to keep them in place. They work brilliantly, but they can be quite fiddly. And if they fall out, good luck finding them. It can be a nightmare. And you also get the ones that have got leaf springs. Now, the leaf springs can be very powerful in a good way because it can lead to more positive engagement. Now, if we look at the actual internal of the hub here, you can see that drive ring if you look closely. This one actually has 22 teeth on it, and you can actually see behind it, it's got an enduro bearing. So this hub actually has a really good quality bearing on there. So that's a steel cartridge bearing unit. Now, depending on the hub you have, it might have a basic no-name bearing on there. Yes, you can technically upgrade that to a better quality bearing, but the fact is they wear as you're riding. So at some point you will need to replace those. And of course, to do that, you'll need bearing drifts, etc. And they will be different depending on every single hub you have out there. So sometimes that makes more sense to take them to a bike shop. Okay, so just before I take the body off, something to note is that these can be machined from steel or aluminium, depending on the options you have with Industry 9. There's so many options, it's crazy. This one's a micro-spline one, but they also do SRAM XD, and they also do conventional splined, just like the design on the other one. Okay, now I'm just gonna slide that body off. Okay, so the first thing you're going to see that instead of having 3 pulls, this one has 6 pulls on the inside, but each of them, if you look carefully, has got 2 steps on the end of each one. So twice the amount of engagement than the 6 that you think it might have. And we'll have a closer look at that in a sec, but check out the driving on the inside of the hub. Now, the first thing is to say it's made from raw tool steel. Now, this is heat treated, it's immensely tough steel. And the other thing you'll probably notice is that from where you are, you might not be able to see the amount of teeth it's got. So that one has got 22 teeth. This has got 115 in here. Now these are cut like they're actually sharp to feel. They're cut using an electrical current, which gives them extreme accuracy. Now that is insanely tough, the way that works. Now on the inside of Industry 9 hubs, you can choose either having regular enduro bearings, which are fantastic, they're steel bearings, or you can have ceramic bearings as well, if you fancy being even faster and let your wheels roll that bit quicker. Now each hub is hand polished after they've been machined as well. Then they're anodized, of which that process just in itself can take 2 hours. Then they're hand polished again after that and then finished off. Then they're going to be hand built as well. Like these are a true labor of love. This is not an easy process to do. It's a very time consuming one. Obviously, as you know, time is labor, time costs money. Now when you look at the actual pulls themselves, this is very cool. Like I said, you've got those double teeth essentially on each one, and the actual spring behind them, they've got individual leaf springs, and they're really quite powerful as well. So a few things here just to observe compared to that 3-pull system. On the 3-pull system, the spring is very vague, there's not much action going on there, and then the step between each one of those 22 teeth that a puller's got to get over is quite big. Yeah, so the 3 things there combined, also adding into the equation that the 3 pulls engage simultaneously, means there's a lot there that can go wrong by comparison to these. With the Hydra system, these engage separately, okay, but there's 0.52 between the engagements there. So as this one's engaging, the next one is just queuing up to engage. It's a very cool system, and combined with the fact that the pulls are made from that same hardened tool steel and they're cut using that electrical current, you've got a very accurate, very precise system. Okay, the pickup then, the thing that everyone talks about with these hubs. So I've got one of the drive rings here that's just been removed from a hub, so you can actually hear it yourself. Like, it's bonkers how it works. Now, I'll get to this in a second. I just want to illustrate something here. Now, every rear hub out there will have flex in it. And one of the things that hub manufacturers and wheel manufacturers try to get to is minimizing the flex that's in that hub. Now, I'm not talking about flex from riding around. I'm talking about flex that comes from the torque and the power that you put down with your legs. Now, as a result of getting that flex, one of the things that can happen with a 3-pull system like this one is you can get so much flex going through there that you might find as it flexes, one of these pulls will engage rather than all 3 of them that are supposed to engage at once. And when that happens, you can get a bit of a crack as it kind of momentarily slips before they all engage again. And I'm sure some of you out there will have ridden before and you get that crack sensation from your rear hub. You don't really know what it is. That's basically the power you're putting through creating a bit of flex, and that's the result of it basically. The other thing that can do is prematurely wear out your main bearing that sits just past this, the one that you can sit by the drive ring there. Now, you might have noticed with some of your hubs, if you're the sort of person that takes them apart, that despite the condition of your bearing, it might look good. If you actually spin the axle around, you'll notice it feels quite sort of notchy and not very good. Now, if that's happening too soon, you've got a hub that basically the flex can affect that. So it's up to you to maintain it and put fresh bearings in. But here's the smart thing about the Hydra system. They actually use flex to their advantage. So whereas the flex actually fights against this and you get less engagement, you actually get more engagement with the Hydra system. Now, if you look up close on it, you can see there's a slight bit of room going on here. Now, these are engaged in a 6 system, so they're basically phased slightly. As one's engaged, the next one is just racking up, just minutely behind it to engage. But with the flex in the system, you can actually engage 2 or 3 or even 4 with loads of power going through the system. So you actually get more engaged than less. Torque is your friend with a design like this. It's really smart to not fight it and just use the flex to your advantage. This increased engagement combined with the smart system of sort of accepting and embracing the flex is why it makes so much sense, especially if you're the sort of rider that puts loads of load through your rear hub. If you're the guy that mashes through the gears, you're sprinting out of turns, you're hammering down through those gears, you're perhaps attacking uphill sections where you really need to be putting down as much power as possible to get out stuff, you're going to get loads out of a system like this. Well, what about the noise then? Because Industry 9 hubs are undeniably loud. Now, this is the thing that so many people love. So many people love to hear that loud hub. It's a kind of a sign of, hey, check it out. Look at my wheels, I've got really cool ones. But let's face it, not everyone wants to have an outrageously loud hub. Thankfully, there is an alternative to having that noise. So you can either choose to have an extremely loud hub and maximize on that, in which case, when you're doing maintenance, you want to use the Freehub oil by GMBN on the inside there. And if you want yours to be a bit more muted and a bit more subtle, you don't want to scream out that you've got a really fancy pair of wheels, and use their grease. Now, this is a Freehub specific grease. Don't be tempted to use regular grease on the inside of a hub. It'll be too thick and you can hamper the performance. These are specifically designed for use on these hubs. Now, if you want yours to sound a little bit quieter, it's quite simple. Take it all apart, give it a bit of a clean on the inside, and then a small amount of grease behind each one of the pawls here. Really important to get it behind there, and a little bit on that drive ring. Simple as that, and it really does quieten it down significantly. Okay, so how does a fast pickup hub like this feel in use? Well, needless to say, the acceleration is insane. There's no delay. Every sort of movement, every jack you do on those pedals counts as forward propulsion. So if you're that rider that wants to put the power down instantly, you're gonna get it with these hubs. Now, there is actually somewhere in particular that I noticed an advantage by having virtually no pickup compared to a hub with quite a sort of a gap there, a bit of a lag. Now, and that is technical uphill riding. Now, this is something I love doing, and I know Jones over on GMBN loves this sort of stuff as well. Now, think of the situation, it's a couple of switchback turns and a few rocks. You get your line a bit wrong and you have to track stand momentarily just to sort of re-choose your line and assess. If you're doing this with a hub that's got like quite a baggy pickup on there, it can be really difficult to time your pedaling and get up that next section. Whereas what I've noticed with these near instant pickup hubs is you can just choose your moment and you're gone again. You don't have to worry about your timing. That is genuinely a really good feature of having a fast pickup hub. Okay, so the last thing then really to address with a hub like this having an immensely fast pickup is there's certainly some people out there that have commented saying, oh, can't you feel that through the suspension? Now, if you're wondering what that means, is some bikes have more upper chain growth than others. It's why products like the O-chain have been developed to try and sort of counter that, enabling the chainring to move backwards very slightly as your cranks are in a fixed position. So yeah, if your bike has an extreme amount of upper chain growth, yeah, you might be able to notice that. But really, that's going to be very, very few bikes out there. Obviously, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, it can do. But in my eyes, really having a system like this that actually engages better under torque loads is a far more beneficial thing to consider compared to what you can get with the basic 3-pawl systems. Now, again, I'm not suggesting everyone rushes out to get some expensive wheels, but these are some of the serious benefits that you can have. And a system that just deals with torque and uses the flex is just a smart system. Very cool hubs, I think. I'd love to know what you think of the hubs. What sort of system do you have? Do you have basic wheels? Do you not even know what's on the inside of yours? Would you like to know more about your wheels? Let us know in the comments underneath, and we'll see you in another video soon.